Hey folks, my name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. My peoples, where you at? So I figure that I need to break my self-imposed silence and make a video about Marjorie Taylor Greene, because Marjorie Taylor Greene is quitting Congress. She's quitting early in January of next year, and apparently the reason why she's quitting is because the Republican leopards have sufficiently eaten her face. Whereas before, she was one of the up-and-coming rising stars of the Republican Party. She's now leaving because Donald Trump got his fifis hurt and wanted to defend pedophiles. That's the reason why, right? Now, what the hell happened? I'm pretty sure you've all been paying attention to the news, of course. We just got out of one of the longest, I think actually the longest government shutdown in history, which is funny because the previous longest government shutdown in history also happened during Donald Trump's presidency, happened during the first term. But what happened is that as soon as the Democrats caved, of course, and got nothing, they were then forced to seat the last Democratic representative, which I can't remember her name now, but apparently that was the last person needed in order to pass the resolution, in order to force the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. And Marjorie Taylor Greene was a big part of making this happen, because she, along with 4 other Republicans, broke with Trump, and because, you know, they needed to actually have some Republicans in order to get this passed, because there's not enough Democrats. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, along with Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and Representative Thomas Massie, actually broke with Trump, resisted his attempts to get this stymied and, you know, stop the Epstein files from coming out, and they voted with Democrats and said they were going to vote with Democrats in order to release it. And then when it actually came to the vote, since there was no way they could stop it, all the Republicans then voted to release it. And that's kind of how these things work, because if they didn't have the votes, then none of them would have voted for it. But since they didn't have the votes to stop it, they all figured, well, fuck it, I might as well vote for it anyway, because it looks good, because the Republican constituents have been calling for the Epstein files to be released for like 5 years now. And of course, Trump didn't do it during his first term, right? So now it's like, now they can all say, hey, I voted to release it. Spoiler alert, folks, the Department of Justice will never actually release the Epstein files. At the very least, we will not get anything that incriminates Trump, okay? They're either going to release the files with, like, anytime Trump's name is in it will be, like, redacted, so it'll all just be filled with, like, blacked out stuff, and you'll never actually see Donald Trump in there. You'll see definitely any mention of Bill Clinton or a Democrat, but Donald Trump, no. That's either going to happen, or they just will not release certain files. They'll just say, oh, well, we have an ongoing investigation or some shit. You know, Donald Trump directed Pam Bondi to open up an investigation into Democrats. And they're just going to be like, oh, we can't release these files. You know, that's part of our ongoing investigation. It's bullshit. And you will never see Donald Trump's name in these files, folks. Calling it right now. But anyway, because Marjorie Taylor Greene broke with Trump here, now she's claiming that she's getting death threats, and that her family's being threatened, and her business is being threatened, and all of that shit. And she has decided to quit, which, you know, I say good fucking riddance. Now, why, of course, did she decide to break with Trump here? You could say, you know, I'm seeing speculation out there in the news and stuff that, like, she's trying to position herself for, like, a political future where Trump is gone, because, you know, Donald Trump can't run again, even though he's totally going to. Right? He's totally going to try to run again. You know, whether he actually succeeds or not is a different story. If we were to actually follow what the law says, he's not allowed to run again. Lots of people are thinking like, well, she's trying to position herself so that, you know, in the future when Donald Trump is gone, she can, like, you know, run for president or something, right? I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure that she actually cares about being the, you know, having political power. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene broke with Trump because she understands sexual assault. She understands rape. She understands how men can be predatory. And I'm pretty sure that's why she broke. You'll notice that of the 4 Republicans who broke with Trump there. 3 of them are women. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace. Those 3, all women, they broke with Trump. Why? Because they understand sexual assault. I mean, Lauren Boebert understands sexual assault. Her fucking ex-husband, right, like, preyed upon her when she was a minor and shit. That's a true story. Like, she, like, married her assaulter and stuff. So she definitely understands sexual assault, and I'm pretty sure Nancy Mace has got some experience with that too. You'll notice the only man to actually break with them was Thomas Massie, who's like a fucking lunatic. And I think the reason he broke with it is because he's like a QAnon freak or whatever. But, that's a subject for a different video. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that she's actually planning on ever running for office ever again. I think she is probably trying to set herself up to be like a media figure, like a podcaster. I think she already runs a podcast, and I think what she's trying to go for is that she wants to be like Steve Bannon, is what I think. And why do I say that? Why am I saying that? Why am I saying that she doesn't want to be president? She doesn't want to be a congressman, whatever? Because she already made her money. So apparently, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she entered office in 2020, she had a net worth of around $700,000. And her net worth now is $25 million. Okay. So you say $700,000, you go, okay, well, that's a lot of money, right? And it is. If you had $700,000 in cash, yeah, that's a lot of money. But your net worth for someone who's a upper middle class, and it's not that much. Like, if you think about it, if you own a business and you own a house, like, you could easily have a net worth of $700,000. Shit, just your house alone nowadays in this market, right? So, she has a successful construction company, and she, owns a house and stuff like that. So she was well off already, but she wasn't like super duper rich. She wasn't a millionaire. She now has $25 million. That's her net worth. How the fuck did she get so much goddamn money? Well, she got it through insider trading. Okay. That's exactly what she did, and she's not the only one. The Republicans on the Democrats, they all do this. Okay, I mean, Nancy Pelosi is notorious for fucking insider trading. It's just a thing that Congress people are allowed to get away with. It's like not against the law if you're in Congress to fucking like do insider trading. Like everybody else in the country, if they were to like act on insider information like that, they go to prison. Congress people, nope. So yeah, she already made her money. So what reason does she have to be in Congress? She's already rich. That's the reason why she was there. See? Because she doesn't actually give a shit about her constituents. Alright? She doesn't actually care about her constituents. She does not. That's why, like, if she cared about her constituents, she'd stay. She'd stay and she would vote to impeach Trump. So one of the things that she said during her video was that she didn't want to have to be forced to defend Donald Trump when he gets impeached. In fact, I've got a link to that video right here. This right here is Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation video. And I think this quote right here is actually very, very relevant as to why she's actually quitting. Now listen carefully to what she says.
I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me.
Did you hear that? According to what she just said, her motive for quitting is she doesn't want to have to defend Trump from impeachment after Trump tried to knock her out. After Trump tries to primary her, she doesn't want to then be pressured to defend him. See, if she gave a fuck about her district, she would stay, she would win, and then she would vote to impeach Trump. She doesn't want to do that. Okay? She doesn't want to do that because she doesn't give a shit about her district. Because she doesn't actually care about the people she represents. She doesn't care about what's best for them or the country. She only gives a fuck about herself. That's what's going on. That's what's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene right there. And she's leaving because she already has her money. She doesn't need to stay. I'm seeing a lot of people out here calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a hero and all this other shit. This bitch ain't a hero. She's like just as selfish and self-centered as she's always been. She's just sort of like riding this anti-Trump wave right now because Trump is down in the polls, because people are starting to turn on Trump because, you know, they're realizing that he's completely full of shit and that his, like, economic agenda is a fucking joke and that, you know, he's a bad president. And, I mean, to those people, all I have to say is, well, what did you think it was going to turn out like? I mean, we already have experience of Trump as president during his first term. Like, why did you think it was going to be any different? So anyway, that's why she's leaving. She's leaving because she doesn't want to be put in that position. Okay? Not because of what's best for the country. What's best for the country is to impeach Trump. Not because of that. Not because of, like, Trump's a bad leader. No. She's leaving because it inconveniences her. Because she doesn't want to have to be pressured to help someone who tried to destroy her. And yeah, it's a decent reason to quit. But let's not pretend that she's doing this for the good of the country or for the good of her constituents. Or, oh, I don't want to put my people through that. Fuck off. Fuck off. You don't give a fuck about the goddamn people, alright? And let's not forget who Marjorie Taylor Greene actually is, okay? She is the worst of the fucking worst. I mean, God, I don't know if you guys remember the last 5 years, but she is as bad as Trump with all of the horrible and ridiculous shit that she's done and said and stood for over the last 5 years. She is like the worst, one of the worst fucking people like I can think of to be a leader. She's great if you like have a TikTok or whatever, right? She'd be excellent just being a fucking conservative, like, you know, social media influencer or some shit like that. But she's a fucking leader. She's one of the people out there who's like making decisions that affect everybody's lives. And I'm fucking glad that she's leaving. If I don't know if you guys remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke at fucking AIPAC, which is, of course, Nick Fuentes' like, you know, alternative version of CPAC, because they kicked him out of CPAC years ago because he's a fucking Nazi. Marjorie Taylor Greene went and spoke at his event and then claimed that she didn't know who Nick Fuentes was. Like, okay, so you don't go to fucking an event and speak at an event without knowing who the guy who's putting the event on is. Not when you're like a politician. The whole because politicians don't just go to places for no fucking reason. She went there to try to appeal to Nick Fuentes' audience. Well, don't tell me she doesn't know who his fucking audience is. Of course she fucking knows who his audience is. You know, let's not forget, Marjorie Taylor Greene was like a conspiracy theorist, like Alex Jones type, before she became involved in politics. That's the way her career was heading. You know, she would make YouTube videos and shit of her, like, harassing David Hogg and, like, harassing fucking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Like, I remember seeing a video of her, like, sitting outside of her office, like, taunting her, daring her to come out and, like, you know, and, like, debate her and shit. And, you know, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is like, AOC is just telling her to fuck off, like, not even opening the door, not even, like, bothering to, like, give this bitch the time of day. And then, imagine that. Imagine, like, getting harassed by somebody, and then now you have to work with them. The Jewish space lasers fucking lady. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? She was, like, you know, a conspiracy theorist nutbag who then becomes a goddamn fucking congressman. She's racist as fuck. She, at a Turning Point USA conference in 2021, she referred to Asians as yellow people. She also said on Steve Bannon's podcast that she would deport every single Chinese loyalist, like, who are loyal to the CCP, that she would deport all of them. If she had her way, she would kick all of them out of the country. Of course, she doesn't say how you determine if someone's loyal to the CCP. I'm pretty sure it had something to do, of course, with their race. But yeah, that's what she actually said. She is a January 6th apologist. She said in a speech to the New York Young Republicans Club that if she and Steve Bannon were in charge of the January 6th riot insurrection, that they would have come armed and they would have won. This is the exact quote. I'm going to read it to you. January 6th happened, and the next thing you know, I organized the whole thing along with Steve Bannon here. And I will tell you something, if Steve Bannon and I had organized that, we would have won. Not to mention, it would have been armed. That's her exact fucking quote right there. Okay, this is someone who is writing the laws, voting on the laws and shit in the United States. Yeah, she really gives a fuck about this country and like her constituents. Get the fuck out of my face. Why am I having so much trouble drawing this guy's thumb right here? You know what? I think I need to like move this whole thing down. This shotgun. It doesn't look right. She has made references to the Islamic version of the Great Replacement Theory. See, there's a lot of different versions of the Great Replacement Theory. There's the Latino version, there's the black version, there's the version where the Jews are bringing immigrants in to replace white people, yada, yada, yada. The version that she referred to, of course, was the Islamic version, where she said that Islamic people are invading the United States government. This was in 2021, after Ilhan Omar got elected. She often referred to Muslim members of Congress as the Jihad Squad. In a Facebook video from 2019, she said that Muslim American members of Congress are illegitimate because they didn't take their oath of office on a Bible. They did it on a Quran, of course. And she's saying, well, no, they have to take their oath of office on a Bible in order for it to count. Yep, this person then went on to become one of those representatives. Fucking, yeah, this is that. I'm not making this shit up. I will provide all the quotes here. In fact, you know what? I will do it in the video anyway. I'll put it down underneath the video. I'll put links to all of these quotes so you can look them up herself. These are not shit that I'm like making up. It's not stuff I'm taking out of context. These are the actual things she said and did. In May of 2023, she said that being labeled a white supremacist is the equivalent of a black person being called the N-word. Not making that up either, and what spurned that was an argument with Jamal Bowman outside of the Capitol building, and apparently they got into a little tussle and started calling each other names or whatever. And he called her a white supremacist because, you know, that's kind of what she is. And her exact quote was, Jamal Bowman was shouting at the top of his lungs, cursing, calling me a white supremacist, which I take great offense to that. It's like calling a person of color the N-word, which should never happen. Calling me a white supremacist is equal to that. That is wrong. Please remember, this is a person who was literally speaking to Nazis at AIPAC there. Yeah, she's not a white supremacist. She only just goes and gives speeches to them. She's compared wearing a mask during COVID, saying that it was like the Nazis making Jews wear the yellow star. She called Joe Biden a Nazi because of the measures taken during COVID. You know, the public health measures taken during COVID, which is fucking ridiculous. In 2021, she attempted to block the Equality Act, and then when that actually passed, she put an anti-trans poster up outside of her office, which just happens to be across from the office from Illinois' Representative Mary Newman, who has a transgender child. I've got here a pic of the poster that I would like to show you guys. This is, of course, from CNN. And that poster is this. There are two genders, male and female. Trust the science. Yep, right outside of another representative's office who has a transgender child. She was actually officially censored for this kind of thing. In 2022, she posted a video of herself kicking a teen activist in the legs to her Facebook. I actually made a video of this, and so I'm not going to bother putting that video up because you can look up my video if you want to see me talk in length about it. But long story short, there were two activists and they were walking, and she had like her congressional staff with her and stuff like that. And they were asking her questions about gun control. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, this one girl was walking in front of her, young woman. And Marjorie Taylor Greene basically said, excuse me, and then kicks her in the back of the legs. And then when the girl turns around and said, hey, what do you kick? Why'd you kick me? She looks at her and gives this like super smug fucking look, like this, well, what the fuck are you going to do about it look? And then, of course, she goes on the news and is like, oh, that's complete lie. I didn't fucking do anything. Watch the video of that. Okay, watch the video. She obviously did it. And because she looks at the girl and basically, like, with this look on her face, like, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I kicked you. What are you going to do about it? Because she knows that absolutely nothing is going to happen to her. Because she's a congresswoman and she's allowed to do whatever the fuck she wants. And her guards then turn around and start trying to, like, push the fucking activists out of the way like the activists somehow assaulted Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's bullshit. If you were to assault her, you would go to jail. If you were to do the exact same thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene did to that girl, you would go to prison. They would fucking throw you in a fucking hole, and because there's a law that says you're not allowed to obstruct a congressman on their way to a vote or some shit like that, you'd be in prison. But she's allowed to do it to an activist. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. Because she's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she gets to get away with breaking the fucking law, because we live in a country where if you're rich and you're powerful, there is no law. Kind of like how Donald Trump can go on fucking Truth Social and he can make death threats against Democratic politicians. But if one of those politicians were to do the same thing to him, if one of those politicians were to say something to the effect of, well, he should be arrested and executed, they would get investigated by the Secret Service for just suggesting that, for just doing the exact same thing that he's doing. That's what would happen. Because we live in a country where if you're a powerful politician, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene did. So I'm kind of sick because over the last couple of days, it's been about 5-6 days since she made this announcement. And I keep seeing videos of people on the left who are congratulating her because she stood up to Trump. And no, do not congratulate Marjorie Taylor Greene because she doesn't deserve it. Or the one fucking time she decided to actually have some scruples and be independent and not fucking like suck Trump's dick. The one fucking time they turn on her. Oh no, she doesn't deserve any sympathy. Yeah, she did the right thing. Does she deserve to be like congratulated for doing the right thing? No. You know why? Because it's the right thing. Okay? She doesn't deserve to be congratulated for doing that. She should be doing the right thing. Like, why do I have to say, oh, thank you for doing the right thing? No, fuck off. Fuck off. You deserve everything that's happening to you right now. I know a lot of people on the left right now are going to look at what I just said and just be like, well, if we don't encourage Republicans to do the right thing, then they never will and nothing will ever change. Yeah, okay, sure. But here's my point, okay? One good deed does not absolve you of a lifetime of wickedness. She spent the last 5 years exploiting her position to make money, exploiting culture war things in order to rile up her base so that she can make money for the GOP, because that's what she does. That's what she was there for. That's why she was like the number one fundraiser for the GOP for like years, all right? Because she pissed off the libs, and that's what she was there for. Not to help, not to do anything to help anyone. Name for me any legislation that she introduced, that she authored, that helped anyone with anything. Besides the Epstein files. Name something. She's been in there for 5 years. What the fuck has she done? Nothing. Oh, she's made $20 million. Right? So get the fuck out of my face. Like, no. She deserves zero fucking, like, absolute zero credit. She should get no respect whatsoever. I don't give a fuck Zero fucking respect. Okay? Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm glad she's leaving, and I hope all the other Republicans leave too. Apparently, there's going to be like a large number of resignations for like, I guess like a large number of people in the House are threatening to resign because Donald Trump is fucking making their lives like horrible, you know, a living hell and all that, and they're like starting to like, you know, revolt against Trump, and they figure it's better to just quit than to put up with the bullshit. And I say good. I say good because fuck those people. Okay? Fuck those people. They've done nothing but like exploit their position to personally enrich themselves, and I can't wait till they're all fucking gone, because then the GOP loses the incumbent advantage, and hopefully like half of those people, like half of those seats go Democratic, and then we can fucking impeach Donald Trump and actually get this country back on track. That's what I hope would happen. So thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for quitting. Go fuck yourself. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. And I hope you fade away and become completely irrelevant, because you're a goddamn bitch. And I'm glad you're gone. That's all I gotta say, folks. Adios. Hello, folks. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.